a judge rules that lawmakers ignored orders to redraw district maps. Put it up full mass. This is going to be one of those I'm surprised but not surprised stories. So in a scathing ruling, a panel of 3 federal judges Thursday struck down Alabama's 2023 congressional map as a violation of both the Voting Rights Act, VRA, and the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The judges, 2 of whom were appointed by President Donald Trump himself, the judges went in on the state for what they called, quote, a deliberate decision to double down on the dilution of Black Alabamians' votes. Wow. They ruled that Alabama lawmakers intentionally disenfranchised Black voters by refusing to redraw the state congressional district map to include a second majority Black district, despite receiving a previous order from federal judges to do so. That's called being in contempt of a judicial order. There's more. Quote, the legislature knew what federal law required and purposefully refused to provide it. In a strategic attempt to checkmate the injunction that ordered it, they wrote, quote, it seems painfully obvious to us that the state's decision to purposefully dilute the voters of Black Alabamians, particularly after exhausting its appellate rights for a preliminary injunction entered under Section 2, flies in the face of its position that Section 2 has outlived the purpose Congress intended. In 2023, the Supreme Court ruled that state lawmakers violated Voting Rights Act after submitting a map that only contained one majority Black district out of even in a state where approximately 28% of the population is in fact Black. That ruling came 2 years after civil rights groups sued the state, accusing lawmakers of crafting a disproportionate map in 2020 that disregarded the state's makeup of Black voters. The Supreme Court initially permitted the map to be used for the state's 2022 congressional elections, but later affirmed lower court's rulings that determined it diluted the strength of Black voters. Justices ordered state lawmakers to return to the drawing board and amend their congressional map with the second majority Black district, but legislators only increased one district's percentage of Black voters from 30 to 42.5%. All right, so it's some legal jargon in here, but basically, they drew these maps like spider webs, all right, in order to make sure that only Black folk were in these districts. And they said, okay, so the courts, they want us to give some more Black people power. So we're gonna put them in that same district. We're just gonna increase that district and ignore the rest of the order. The spirit of the order is violated in the actual response to the order. They are in contempt. A judge could hold them in contempt at any time. So there's more. The new map was rejected by a federal court. Federal court says, no. And a judge appointed a special master to redraw Alabama congressional district lines to include 2 districts that were Black. They had Black voters, a feasible chance to elect a candidate of their choice. Feasible chance. Okay? Let's put it up full mass. All right. The new temporary map resulted in a historic election of 2 representatives. This happened in 2024 election of Representative Shamari, figures in 2024, a Democrat who joined Alabama only after this happened. A Democrat who joined Alabama's only after the Black Congress member, Representative Terry Soule, in the U.S. House. Figures election to the U.S. House marked the first time 2 Black Congress members from Alabama served together in the state's 150-year entire history. We got the perfect person to talk about this in detail. And Jamie, I just have to point out the irony of this. The judges, 2 of whom were appointed by Trump, has said basically, not only did Alabama do something that is holistically racist against their Black population, they did it adverse to judicial order not to do it. And they are the ones proving that the congressional ruling of the Voting Rights Act should remain in place. What say you?
Well, I say water's wet and the sky's still blue. This has been Alabama since long. I'm from the state, as you alluded to. Yeah. This has been how the now Republican Party has been operating for decades upon decades upon decades. This time they happen to be sloppy such that a Republican Supreme Court, 3 of whom were appointed by Donald Trump, and then as you alluded to, the federal court, also 2 of whom were appointed by Donald Trump, said, you know what, I think y'all are going too far. And I have a lot of Republican friends in this state, some of whom are elected officials, some of whom are not racist and of themselves, and they cannot wrap their heads around, well, why would we draw a district based on race? And I retort back to them, they're already drawn based on race.
Right.
They're drawn to exclude us. This is to correct a problem that has occurred since the 60s. And then unfortunately, Shamar got elected. We spent a lot of time working on his campaign. I got a chance to work with him very closely as well as Terry Sewell. So we're glad he got elected. But this problem is pervasive through every aspect of the state, from city council to the state house, the state senate, judgeships. Gerrymandering here based on race is a systemic issue. Unfortunately, this one aspect of it was resolved. We got a long, long, long way to go.
Yeah, well said. All right, we'll stay on top of it, bring updates as to